And of course, we always start in first gear, letting our right foot take over with the gas as our left foot releases the clutch. And our goal is for smooth transitions. As I'm applying pressure to the brake, I also have to push in the clutch, because if I didn't push in the clutch and I'm going slower than the gear is intended, the car will cough and die. I think I'm just gonna get out and start driving with my stick shift so that we can see how I use this manual transmission to increase my speed according to the speed limit and the conditions. As I exit this space, I'm gonna use my usual signal, making sure no one's coming. And in my first gear, I get started. My RPMs start racing as I get to 15, and I shift to second gear. The speed limit here is 20 miles per hour, so second gear is the perfect match for these road conditions. My speed is at 20, my RPMs are at 2.5, and I'm in second gear. While I'm in second gear, I just drive straight. I have my left foot resting on my resting ramp, my right foot on the gas, and it feels just like I'm driving an automatic car. All I had to do was shift from first gear to second gear. If you really want to pass the road test, then you need to check out Zutobi. Zutobi helps you focus on what's important for your test and then teaches you how each maneuver should be done correctly, step by step. Not only will you be more prepared for your driving test, you'll also feel more confident and safe when you're driving. Now I'm going to get to practice downshifting as I reduce my speed approaching the stop sign. I'm never going to downshift into first gear as I approach the stop sign. I'm going to wait until I fully stop. And the important thing is, as I'm applying pressure to the brake, I also have to push in the clutch, because if I didn't push in the clutch and I'm going slower than the gear is intended, the car will cough and die. With my clutch pressed in and my car in first gear, I make sure that nobody's coming from the left. I apply pressure to the gas as I release the clutch, and as my engine revs and I increase my speed, I downshift to second and now third. This third gear is the perfect speed for 30, 35, even approaching 40 on this downhill. I find that a manual transmission is much easier in terms of matching the speed limit. If I was in an automatic car driving down this hill, my car would want to pick up speed because gravity would be pulling it downhill. But because I'm in a standard transmission and my gear is in the speed limit of 35, I wasn't picking up too much speed. Now my speed increases to 45, and so I'm going to shift into fourth gear. When I'm in fourth gear and going 45, my RPMs are riding just above the 2. So I'm getting confirmation from the sound of the car that I'm in the correct gear. I'm tracking my speedometer to make sure I'm going the speed limit, and I'm watching my RPMs to confirm that the engine is working at the right rotations per minute for the speed limit. So we're gonna go to a place where we can spend a little bit of quiet time in a parking lot, just so we can play with the clutch and the gas a little bit. because it really is the stop and go that's the hardest part of learning to drive a stick shift. As I pull into this parking spot and I start to go slower, I'm going to push in the clutch to come to my final resting position. That way I don't stall. An important thing to remember for your driving test, you are not allowed to roll to a stop by putting the car in neutral. When the car's in neutral, your engine is not engaged. On the driving test, you have to keep your gear engaged until you stop, and of course, when you start. I do not downshift to first gear when I come to a stop sign, but I do downshift to first gear when I'm coming into a parking spot. When I come into a stop sign, I downshift to second gear, and then I put the car in first gear to start again. And that's because my dad told me you can ruin your transmission if you downshift into first gear while you're driving. I'm not sure if that's true in your car, but the things you learn from your father, you keep in your mind. So that's just a practice that I have. Now we're going to practice using reverse. And reverse is a lot like first gear. It's meant for slow speeds from 0, I guess up to 10, but most people would only reverse up to 5 miles per hour. So I'm going to put the car in gear by pressing down on the clutch, pushing over to reverse, and again doing that extra work to get it down and to the right low corner. As I reverse, I'm going to ease off the brake, transition to the gas. I hear the engine taking over, so I release the clutch, but then I quickly put the clutch back in as I put the brake on because I don't want to stall. And of course, we always start in first gear, letting our right foot take over with the gas as our left foot releases the clutch. And our goal is for smooth transitions. If you have ever used a sewing machine with a foot pedal, learning to drive a stick shift is going to be easier for you because you already have experience using a pedal and understanding that too much or too little pressure is a lot. Because that pedestrian was walking across and I wanted to slow down, that was another example of a time I had to push in the clutch. I didn't want to slow to about 1 or 2 miles per hour without putting in the clutch because then my car would have stalled. So pressing in the clutch while putting on the brake in first gear gives me that smooth slowdown to a stop without worrying about stalling. And I'm going to have that same experience here at the stop sign. As I press the brake, I press in the clutch so that I don't stall. Running a driving school isn't easy. Between high operating costs, managing student requests, and delivering top-notch instruction, it's a lot. Zutobi Instructor helps smooth out your day-to-day operations with features like automated scheduling and online payments. You'll also get our best in the nation in-class and online curriculum with engaging videos, immersive driving simulations, and more. Driving schools all over the country are already making the switch and loving the results. It's super simple to get started. Visit Zutobi.com to book a demo or click the link in the description. First gear is for starting and for parking. It's a driving gear out of a slow space like a parking lot, but it is not a driving gear in any other space. You never want to accidentally put your car in first gear if you're going more than 15 miles per hour. because the engine will rev and it will feel uncomfortable to your ears, your body, and the engine. In second gear, I roll into this parking spot, and as I come to a stop, I have my clutch in, the brake on. I always park my car in first gear. That's the way I was taught. I was taught never to park your car and leave it in neutral because, again, the car could roll. You always want your gear engaged, and with a manual transmission especially, use your emergency brake. Cars are four-wheeled objects, they're heavy, and they can roll. So emergency brake, car in gear to turn your manual transmission off. Thank you so much for checking in today. I hope this introduction to stick shift driving gave you a foundation so that you feel comfortable going off to a quiet place, getting started in an open space where you can feel safe. And then once you feel comfortable, you can enter into your town and drive with others. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.